Hello everyone, welcome to the Old Man and the Read. My name is Jerry. Today I'm going to discuss the books I've read by one of the writers I really enjoy reading, William Golding. William Golding was a British novelist who lived from 1911 to 1993. He was a winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1983, but he wrote some really great books. A lot of them were rather strange and almost bizarre at times. They're stories about rather dysfunctional characters who often seem to have a touch of madness to them. But they're just really great, enjoyable books, extremely well written. So I'll show you what I've read by William Golding. The first book he published in 1954, and probably by far his best known book, is Lord of Flies. This is the story of a group of young boys who are stranded on an island, and they slowly spiral into chaos and violence, and the story kind of mimics society in general, I thought. The next book I have, published in 1955, The Inheritors, and this is a book that portrays the human race through the eyes of a group of Neanderthals. Now, Golding depicted the Neanderthals as a very peaceful race, and that they had been wiped out by a very warlike group, Homo sapiens. In 1956, he published Pincher Martin. This is a rather disturbing story. It's the story of a sole survivor of a sunken ship who he tries to survive after being stranded on a small rock island out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. He's in a hopeless situation, and it has some very ominous consequences to it, but kind of a disturbing story. In 1959, he published Free Fall. This is the story about a prisoner of war who's kept in a small concrete cell in total darkness. And he spends his time reminiscing about his life. But as he's reminiscing, alternating between that, then we get glimpses of his increasing insanity. In 1964, he published The Spire. This is about a man who believes that God has instructed him to construct a spire on top of his cathedral. Now, the cathedral doesn't have a foundation, and so in spite of the advice he's been getting, he chooses to continue with the spire regardless of what the consequences are. In 1971, he published The Scorpion God. This is actually 3 novellas in one book. The Scorpion God takes place in ancient Egypt, and it's about a god king who drinks poison, and his servants must then follow. another titled Clunk Clunk, and this is a rather humorous tale about a primitive society led by women, in which a crippled hunter is trying to gain acceptance into. The last story is Envoy Extraordinary, and this is the Emperor of Rome is visited by a scientist who has invented the printing press. In 1979, he published Darkness Visible. This is another one of his really bizarre, strange stories, but it begins with about the first part of the book is about Maddie, and Maddie's a young boy who's badly burned in a bombing raid in London during the war. Half of his face has been completely burned off, and so Maddie, as he grows up, is ignored by most people or shunned by people. He can never be included in anything, and so he grows up a little bit mentally impaired. And the story goes on through talking about his life and his many misadventures as he goes through it. Some of them really bizarre stories. Then the second part is about a young girl named Sophie. Sophie has a twin sister, and it talks about their growing up in a motherless family with a father who pretty much ignores them. Then as they reach their late teens, Sophie and her twin sister Tony then basically disappears from the story, and it just follows Sophie from there. But it's mostly about her experiments with sex, and then follows as she goes from man to man in relationships. But then the last part of the book converges with combining Maddie and Sophie, even those were totally different stories, but they converge into one ending along with a whole cast of other characters from the book to a very bizarre conclusion that ends in madness. The next book I have, published in 1980, is Rites of Passage, and this is written as if from a journal by a young, arrogant gentleman on board an 18th century ship that's bound for Australia. And basically in the journal he talks about life on board ship and about its cast of characters. And the last book I have by Golding, it was published in 1984, and this is The Papermen, and it's about an author who has a drinking problem and is in a very failed marriage, but he's being stalked by another writer who wants to write a biography of him. But another strange story by William Golding. But he wrote some marvelous books, just very different from a lot of things you would read, but excellent writer and very entertaining. So I'd like to thank you for watching the video, and hopefully I'll see you on another. Thanks.